was being a dolphin in a wheelchair, and then I just licked a policeman, and he started arresting me, and I got in jail.
The Gaming Lovers Podcast with Brendo and Jem. G'day and welcome to The Gaming Lovers episode 32. I'm Jem.
I'm Brendo, and I do not regularly lick police officers while in wheelchairs as a dolphin.
No, I don't think that's ever happened to me before. Oh, there are some funny things that kids say, and this episode is chock full of little nuggets of humorous wisdom.
I just love the word nugget. It's always a good thing. It's either chicken nuggets or it's a gold nugget.
Mm-hmm. Or a chocolate nugget. Like, they used to have those crunchy chocolate nuggets. I miss them so much. They're like those bite-sized ones. Oh, chocolate. Okay. So we have two very special guests that are going to be joining myself a little later on in this podcast, Lily and Savannah, who are young girls who love video games and that we've introduced to a few different games over the years. And they had some pretty funny things to say about their favourite video games.
Yes.
We'll
Normally when people say, and their answers may surprise you, and you think that's just podcast hook, they're trying to just use one of those default lines. But in this case, their answers did actually surprise me.
Yes. They say some pretty random stuff. So we'll get to that very soon. But before we do, Gaming Goals.
Is that the new song? I missed the memo on that one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Gaming Goals.
It's getting a little operatic.
I'm down for that. I like a good opera. Haven't seen any yet. But...
Not any real ones. But yeah. So what have you been up to this past week as far as gaming goes?
I've hit all of my main major targets. I did some more live streaming of my Dark Souls 2 blind playthrough. I advertised it as a no-death run because in my first session, 2 hours of play, not having any idea where I'm going, what to expect around any given corner, except for the occasional note that says, ambush ahead. I managed to get through that entire session without dying once. So I was very happy, advertised it as my no-death run, and then, spoilers, if you saw my second clip, within 6 minutes, I accidentally walked straight into a 4-on-1 assault and I was annihilated. Dark Souls, if you have anything more, like a 1-on-1 fight is ideal and you may still die. Yeah. A 2-on-1 fight, you might get through with the skin of your teeth. If it's any more than that, you are toast.
Yeah. It takes very precise dodging and timing to do well in any fight, let alone one where you're very outnumbered. So that's the kind of game that I know that I would just get so angry at.
Yep.
Like, I'd be like, oh, I can't do. So I haven't even bothered. I have fun watching you get mad at it.
But what's absolutely hilarious was in the first session, I started the game and I got lost within the first 5 minutes because I missed a corridor. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. And now it's live streamed and everyone's seen it. So I thought, hopefully that won't happen again. I got to the end of that first run and said, I don't know where I'm going. I'm out of options. I've gone through this whole area to a dead end. I guess I'll just save it here and we'll figure it out next time. Yeah. I load that up and right at the start, I look in that first room and suddenly there's a hole in the floor with a ladder. And I'm like, was that there before? I'm not sure. I certainly didn't see it. But I conquered a boss. I beat a boss. Woo-hoo. And things are going rather well.
Nice. Any other games on your radar at the moment?
Well, I've also been playing quite a bit of Yakuza 0. I've moved on. I can't help but do the side missions in that game. There are certain games I just have to do side missions on. That is one of them. I love that. I have helped a Michael Jackson-looking dude moonwalk his way down a street while being attacked by fake zombies. I have had relationship advice from a father who is trying to defend his daughter from scoundrels, but because I beat him in a pocket racing slot car tournament, he's happy for me to date his 7-year-old daughter. So that's always wonderful.
That's awkward. Oh, good grief. There are some weird things that happen in those games. But that's also what makes them so charming, I think, is that there's just so many random side quests and mini games that you just don't expect in a game that is about the Yakuza and can be frankly very brutal at times and heartbreaking. Then it has a complete dichotomy, as far as feeling of complete silliness versus, this really serious, brutal tone of a game. So I guess they put that in there deliberately to keep it light so you don't always feel almost depressed playing through some of the story, to have those moments of levity.
But one of the most scary things I've ever experienced in a game. Now, I've been stalked by a nemesis in Resident Evil. I've been stalked by aliens, zombies, beasts, whatever. In Yakuza 0, occasionally you'll run into a man named Mr. Shakedown, and that is terror personified. Yakuza 0, unlike the other ones, the money is flowing. It is the late 80s in Japan, is the golden years. Everyone is loaded, which means you get, on average, hundreds of thousands of yen every fight.
Yep.
You're walking around with stacks of millions of yen in your pocket, and you use that to level up or to buy rare weaponry or things like that. A simple meal from a food shop is still the same price it would normally be, which sort of makes the balance of how much am I earning? This seems a little strange. But some of your upgrades can cost 100 million yen. So you're walking around with hundreds of millions of yen. And if you bump into Mr. Shakedown and he beats you, he takes all your money.
Oof.
So he has a lot on him. You can get 100, 200, 300 million yen off one fight. But if you lose, all of your hard-earned yen is gone.
Yeah.
And that raises the stakes strangely high because normally in-game currency, it's there to be burnt or you collect so much that you never actually spend it through the whole game.
Yep.
Like anytime I've played Mass Effect 1, for example, I finish the game with unlimited money because you sell everything
Yeah.
and then you don't buy anything because everything you've found on missions is better than what you can buy.
Yeah.
In this, I do not want to part with my money, but I'm trying to stockpile it to level up. And if I lose that, oh my goodness. Mr. Shakedown, I have defeated him many times, but he keeps coming back. Yeah, it's terrifying.
And getting harder and harder to beat.
It's terrifying. One hit and half your health goes down and you're like, oh my gosh,
and
retreat,
money
retreat.
falls out of your pockets too in that battle. So.
He literally beats the notes out of you.
As visually cool as that looks, that would be terrifying in real life if people could do that, hit you and money comes out. But it would be nice to have millions of yen in my pocket.
It would be.
I would like that very much.
Now, the other game that I have to be honest, I originally thought that Pokemon Let's Go Eevee was going to be my filler game. Okay, I don't want to play my main games. I'll play Let's Go Eevee for 20 minutes or whatever. I'll play it while I'm waiting at the doctor's office like we discussed on an earlier podcast. For some reason, every time I try and play a little bit of that game, I end up playing quite a bit of that game, and it is never according to plan.
Yeah, every time I've loaded it up, I've played it much longer than I ever intended to. I get sucked into it like so bad. It is addictive in a good way, I just enjoy it so much. And thankfully, I'm not getting fed up with battles and things like that. I think not having to battle Pokemon to capture them has given a bit of a breather. So if you get kind of sick of constant battles against trainers, then you can just go and focus on catching Pokemon, which still helps you level up and get experience points and fill that Pokedex. But, you're not having to battle or vice versa. Like, it gives you plenty of options, but the thing that makes that game for me so enjoyable recently is getting all the different Pokemon that you can ride on. So I have a Charizard now, and flying around town on a Charizard, I just feel so badass.
It's not only
I'm like,
quicker,
Yes.
it's impressive.
Yes. I'm like, yeah, watch me fly around town on my Charizard.
Still a special place in my heart for latching onto one of Snorlax's pecs while he walks you around town.
He lumbers around. It's so funny because he just plods along. But honestly, it would be exhausting holding onto him like that. Surely it'd be better to sit on his shoulders and rather than cling to the front of him.
Well, I don't know. There's a high risk any way that you sit on a Snorlax. He
True.
could fall back in a narcoleptic fit and crush you to paste.
Very true. At least you've got the poker flute if you can still play it while being crushed. I don't know.
Well, I've got 4 gym badges now. I have worked my way up to the Silphco building, which I know you have done.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to catch up to you, but I don't think I'm going to make it. But it has been quite enjoyable. And the fact that the Alolan variants of the first generation Pokemon are in the game.
Yeah. With trades.
When I had Pokemon Moon and you could get the Alolan versions of Raichu and Dugtrio and things like that, I'm like, yeah, no thanks. They're stupid. No interest. But for some reason, I've looked at my team and I've basically assembled an Alolan team. I have a Ninetales, I have a Dugtrio, like I said, a Raichu. Most of my team is assembled of Alolan ones, and it may just be because Dugtrio's hair is absolutely beautiful.
You're jealous of their hair, huh?
The luscious, flowing blonde locks on a 3-headed mole creature.
Whereas you look like original Dugtrio.
Oh. Especially with the red nose I have with this cold that I'm trying to kick through.
Oh, sorry, love. Yeah, it has been very enjoyable. I've had actually a lot of messages from different friends who know that we're playing it at the moment and have been asking questions about whether it's worth getting and how Pokemon Go links into it and everything else. I've had a little bit of trouble getting Pokemon Go to connect properly. Like, I can get the Switch and my phone to connect, but then when I get to that section where you actually have the Poke Park and can transfer Pokemon over, it just has this continual circle loading and I'm like, oh no. And apparently this has happened to quite a lot of people where Bluetooth interference from other devices, even Joy-Cons that are on.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
that's a
bit
problem.
that's a bit of a design flaw right there.
Yes.
Can interfere with you trying to connect your phone to be able to transfer over your Pokemon. So I've been trying a few different things and none of them have worked yet. So I kind of went, I'll do this another time.
Have you tried turning it off and on again? 'Cause that is the original idea that I had.
I disconnected my phone from the Switch and then I reconnected and it connected fine. And then I went back into the thing and it did the same thing again. So I was like, I don't know what is going on.
That's in Fuchsia City.
Yes.
All right, I'm almost there. Maybe I'll be able to report on it next week.
Maybe. You might have better luck, but that also, I don't know if there's differences between models of phones too. I'm not sure whether the issue is the phone or if it's the Switch or a bit of both.
Technology, don't we love it?
Yes, this is so great until it stops working. Even with that little hiccup, I'm still really enjoying it. And I think we've said it almost ever since it came out, how much we've loved it. So I'm not going to harp on too much.
The Pokemon Lovers Gaming Podcast.
It's been a bit like that recently. For me, I better check. Any other things to update us as far as your gaming goes?
With the exception of Pokemon Go, which has been getting a bit of life, and because I am a train driver, I do travel to strange places that I would not normally walk to, so I do get some variety of locations for Pokestops. But having said that, where we live, we don't really have much at all. The local park has one, and that's about it. So
Yeah.
if I don't get out of the house, I don't get my Pokestops.
No.
I have a slight addiction now. I never liked mobile games, and this is a problem. I knew this would happen.
For me, I've been playing a little bit of Pokemon Go, not as much as you, but then I work from home, so there's really not much opportunity to go, unless I force myself to go for a walk on my own. And unfortunately, we don't live in Japan, so it's not as safe to do that by myself, even in suburbia. I have continued my Odyssey and...
Your Odyssey?
My Odyssey. It's my Odyssey. Mine and Cassandra's Odyssey in Assassin's Creed. You always get mad at me for not clarifying. Yes, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I fought the Minotaur.
What an epic confrontation.
A guy pretends. Slight spoilers.
Oh,
It's a side quest. It's
I
not.
wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I will. If you don't go la 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 for 10 seconds. There's a guy who's dressed up as a Minotaur who's pretending and luring people to their death. So I did that recently. That's kind of the area that I'm in at the moment. But yeah, there's some quests that feel very copy paste. It does suffer, similar to Dragon Age Inquisition, where there's a lot of bloat of little things that kind of just feel like filler for the sake of filling a space.
Welcome to the Assassin's Creed series. This is your first entrant in the...
Well, because it's so huge, it's not surprising, to have a lot of simple, go get this, go defeat this fort, go take out this person. Like, it's a lot of rinse and repeat. Thankfully, though, the story aspects and there's some side quests, like character side quests that are really interesting. And so you learn to know from the icons what's the difference between them. So I'm like, sometimes I'll ignore the fluff and just stick with the main stuff unless I need to level up and get some more experience points. But I really, really hate going underwater.
Underwater levels or anything that you're more than waist deep in water in video games, I get on edge.
Yes.
The fact that you're going down plundering sunken ships with sharks swimming around, that would put me in a terror coma.
Yeah. I literally, anytime I can, I will find a vantage point above the surface of the water and I will shoot the sharks with my bow and arrow and kill them all before I can jump down, and I give myself 2 minutes to go and do what I need to down underneath the surface and then get back up onto wherever in dry land or my boat before they respawn, because I don't like fighting them under the water. It just makes me nervous.
Well, that's a game design imbalance. So you watch the next entrant of the Assassin's Creed series, the sharks may have bow and arrows. And it's going to be your fault.
They're going to have lasers.
Share the love. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thegaminglovers.
Now, on our various social media accounts, we do get some feedback from our listeners, and every time we seem to interview or introduce the younger folk to games that we love,
Yep.
and we get their reactions and things like that, ask them questions about the games, it's always received pretty well. So what we thought we would do collectively, we came up with a great plan, and we decided that Jem would interview the younger folk, go even further down the age chain, and ask what in this wide world of gaming hits the mark when it comes to their favourites.
All right, so we have Lily and Savannah. How old are you, Lily?
I am 7 years old.
And Savannah, how old are you?
4.
And what are your favourite video games?
Well, that's a tough one. I like lots of video games. I think maybe I would choose Mario Tennis.
Ooh. Why Mario Tennis?
It's very fun, and I've just learned it, and I love tennis games, like hitting the remote control around the room and shaking it.
You like shaking it, yeah?
What about you, Vanna?
I like Goat Simulator or Lego. I like Lego the best because then you can walk around and not crash into anything and yeah.
Yeah?
That sounds like lots of fun. So when you play Mario Tennis, do you have a favourite character, Lily?
Oh, well, I have 3 different favorite characters.
Yeah?
One is Princess Peach, and then Rosella, and Toadette.
Nice. What about you, Vanna? You have a favourite character?
My one is Mario, Luigi, and a baby Peach.
And why are they so good?
Because they like princesses and you get to walk them around and race them.
So what makes video games so much fun?
When I got arrested in Goat Simulator, I was being a dolphin in a wheelchair, and then I just licked a policeman, and he started arresting me, and I got in jail. And then when I got in the police station, the gate was still open, and I started killing all the policemen because they were still in there.
Goat Simulator is definitely a good game for weird scenarios, that's for sure. What about you, Vanna? Anything as weird as getting arrested by licking a policeman?
I don't know. Maybe go in the desert and find stuff. and like do stuff.
So you can explore lots.
And you can turn into a big dinosaur so then you can squash people.
What kind of video game would you like to play that maybe hasn't been made yet? If you could make a video game and add it to the world, what would it be about?
It would be about maybe like Mario and Toadette. They become best friends, and then so they go into this world, and then one of the bad guys in the video game grows as big as a giant, and then so they try to beat it up by getting a question ball, and like a question ball, it's like a ball and it has questions in it, and you throw it at it, and then it tells you some questions about its life, and then you know how to beat it.
Really interesting. Yeah. All right, Nintendo, there's your next game for you. All right, Vanna, if you could make a video game, what would it be about?
Like Rosella and Princess Peach being best friends, and then Mario is being best friends with Luigi.
Oh, that's very cute. All right, what games are the most fun to play together?
Lego.
Lego?
Death Square.
Death Squared? You like playing Death Squared with your sisters? Is there a game that you play that you get angry when you have to share it with your sisters because maybe they keep mucking up?
Oh, Death Square.
So you both love and hate playing that with them?
Yeah.
Oh, Death Squared is definitely frustrating if you're playing with someone who doesn't get it. Yeah.
Why does it not surprise me that out of all the games that they mentioned that they both love and are frustrated by, it's Death Squared? That sums up everyone's experience with that game. There's something about it. It's so charming, you can't help but adore it. But after you've died on the same level 12 times, or you just don't know what to do next,
Yeah.
I can relate to that 100%.
A lot of trial and error with that game. But yeah, if you're playing with someone, especially given how old they are, like, there's no way that they'd be able to, I think, gel well or get a good rhythm going. And especially when it gets to the really tricky levels, you would just be constantly falling off or exploding. So, those girls, though, some of the ideas that they were coming up with for like video games, I think they could end up being, you know, really great indie developers or something one day, coming up with some cool ideas, or maybe working for Nintendo with some of those suggestions. Sounds like some ideas that they could take on board. I don't know. Mario and Toadette.
And Rosella. Big Rosella finally getting her time in the sun.
Oh no, we need to teach them how to say Rosalina. I didn't have the heart to correct them when we were talking. I'm like, I'll just let them keep talking. I don't want to like tell them that's not how you say it.
Now, we've also had discussions in the past in an earlier episode in the archives about what our favourite and perhaps what our least favourite video game movie adaptions are. Now, a lot of the things that we've grown up with are years old. I mean, think about that Super Mario Brothers movie that came out yonks ago, and it's abysmal. But a lot of the ones that I love are the more bloody, violent ones. I mean, the Ratchet and Clank movie, if it had have lived up to what it should have been, might have secured a nice little spot in my heart. But I like the Resident Evil, the Silent Hill, those sort of video game adaptations. Even Tomb Raider is a little bit grisly. Is there a video game that the children think would make a great movie adaptation?
What video game do you think they should make into a movie?
Or Octodad.
Actually, I think that could really work because it's a linear story and it's hilarious. That would be a good kids movie. I would be okay with that because video games have a reputation of being made into really bad movies.
And when I was watching my big sister play it, I was like, this is very much like a movie. They should turn it into a movie.
I like that idea. What about you, Savannah? What video game that you've played would you like to see on a movie at the theatre? Other than Octodad.
Rainbow Octodad.
Well, there's the sequel. Or what's a TV show, Savannah, that you watch, or like YouTube, that you watch that would be a fun video game to play?
Slime.
What's slime?
Stretchy stuff and sticky stuff.
Uh-huh.
Literally just videos of people playing.
There is actually a video game called Slime Rancher where there's little balls of slime that you have to look after like they're cows or sheep, but they're slime. And we have that. Did you know that?
I know a movie which you can turn into a video game. I'm thinking maybe SpongeBob SquarePants.
Did you know that there are SpongeBob video games?
Where is the
Really?
slime animal?
I didn't really know that.
Where is the slime animals?
We think we have that one on the Xbox.
Can you stretch them and like?
No, they're kind of like their own creatures, but you have to look after them. You have to protect them from being eaten. What other shows or movies would you like to see turned into a video game?
The Hunger Games.
Where you have to try to survive, so you get put into a Hunger Game and you have to try to survive and be the victor? That would be interesting. Although possibly a little too brutal for you to play since you're 7.
Yeah, I actually like the Hunger Games.
She's seen around the arena, not the actual.
She hasn't seen the deaths?
No.
No, okay.
She watches the start and the end.
Fair enough. Although you could make kid versions of it, I think, like games like Splatoon where they fight with paint guns would be kind of safe. So you could there are battle royale games.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It can be like a cop game. You would like go around and you would find mysteries which you have to solve and then put people in jail.
I love how, because there was the audience involved when this was being recorded, which was the young girls' sisters, everything that they commented on, they wanted the positive reaction from the fans that were listening. So they picked things like The Hunger Games, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the teenagers' favourite shows, not necessarily theirs.
Yes. But Brooklyn Nine-Nine actually does have a video game linked to it because of Quasi Cupcakes, which Captain Holt gets addicted to in the TV show. They ended up making a mobile game based off of that, which is pretty much just a carbon copy of Candy Crush.
A carbon copy of Candy Crush.
But yeah, it's got lots of koalas in cupcakes is basically the whole thing. But yeah, I loved Lily's idea of Octodad being a movie. I think that is such a cool thing.
Octodad is one of those concepts that could work as an animated short, as a feature-length movie, as a Netflix original series, a darker, grittier reboot of Octodad.
No, I think it would be better if it was kept fluffy and for the kids. Like,
So do I. That was just a stab at everything being dark and grisly these days. I miss
Made
the
to look
old
too
Sabrina
realistic.
the Teenage Witch.
Oh, baby, it's okay.
When Salem was funny and talking.
But you've got the Pikachu movie, which looks better than the video game that it's based on. So there's hope in that sense.
Except for the darker, grittier Mr. Mime that's involved.
Oh, the memes people have made from that have really been disturbing.
Well, being relatively new to the gaming ecosystem, these young ladies have been introduced to a lot of these games that they're talking about from us. And we've had to teach them how to hold, like what a controller does, what these buttons do, how to use a control stick, things that is just second nature for us. But they also have to then give advice to someone one day of how to start a game, how to play a game, what to do.
We're not sure if this advice is super helpful.
What advice would you give to people that are playing a video game for the very first time? What would you tell them?
Oh, well, I would tell them if they can't really do it and they don't really know how to do it, I would go, keep trying. You'll just keep practicing and you'll get better and better.
I like to explain that I would like to play with them and maybe they'll say yes or no.
Have you ever played virtual reality video games with the headsets on?
I think you did that at Black.
Oh, yeah, I've done that. It was very cool. I think I've done that 2 times. I've done an under the sea one and a under the sea one.
And did it feel real?
It felt very, very well.
Did you fall over?
Yes.
Did you feel a little sick from playing it?
Yeah, afterwards.
What are some board games that you think would make good video games?
I think
Monopoly.
Did you know Monopoly is a video game on the Switch?
No.
Yeah, it is. Apparently it's got very long loading times though, so we haven't tried it yet.
like headbands.
What's headbands?
Yeah, you put your headbands around and then you try to guess what kind of card it is.
Oh, celebrity heads.
So you have to. So you put a headband around your head, and then you have to pick. And then someone has to pick a card that has a picture on it, and then you have to guess your card. What's on your head?
Man, they've renamed everything. It's so annoying.
Are you talking about the celebrity heads aspect?
Yes, because headbands, like when they were describing it, I'm like, this is just celebrity heads. Like that's what we grew up playing, which is, I think that was like a board game based off the game that they played on a TV show here in Australia, which we grew up watching. I don't think it's not on air anymore, sadly. Hey, hey, it's Saturday. That's where celebrity heads first came from. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I think what they're talking about is more you have an object or things. It's not actually people.
But it's still a similar premise, though.
It is, but you can't call it celebrity heads if there's no celebrities involved.
I don't know.
If you have a stapler on a card
Those-
attached to your
Yeah,
forehead,
the staplers have a whole centre in LA.
Staples Center. Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, that was a really bad joke. As we were recording and asking these girls the questions for the podcast,
The quasi question.
the crazy question, 4-year-old Savannah got a little bit impatient, I think, with having to sit still for that long, and basically just started insulting me and my job.
You do nothing. You do nothing.
Am I a lazy bum?
Yes.
Why do you think I'm a lazy bum?
Because.
Because why?
Because.
Because why?
Because.
Because why?
Because.
Because why?
Because.
You need to give me a reason.
Because. Because you're a butt. You love your sparkly bottom. You love your only sparkly bottom.
That went downhill quickly.
Well, I don't see her heading out to the workforce and doing her bit for society. She's 4 years old. She can lift items. Surely she can operate a cash register and be trustworthy enough to not lift the funds from the till. Probably violating not only moral and ethical laws, but child labour laws as well.
Oh, good grief.
She could be Miss Shakedown.
Which she could. And all she'd have to do is headbutt somebody and they would be on the floor. That kid has the hardest head. And I don't know how, like, she takes blows to the head and she just shakes them off like nothing's happened. So, I don't know. She's superhuman. Oh, anyway, they have been a lot of fun, and we always love having them over and introducing them to new games. We kind of almost make it our mission to have like a new game to show them every time they come over.
It is very bad for our online bank status because every time there is a sale on the PlayStation Network, I not only look for games for myself or games for my wife, I look for games for friends as well and go, oh, this friend would love this. I'll get it. I'll get it. It's 10%.
Just in case they come over sometime this year.
It's a whole 10% off. I have to get it now. And I will get the latest Jackbox Party Pack, which we actually have to get sometime soon.
Yes, for
And
Christmas.
yeah, so that's how our online sales go.
Yes, which there's been a lot of recently with Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It's just a lot of spending recently, and there was some decent sales as far as games went here in Australia. Not enough to make me go out and buy stuff straight away, because I know that for key things that there tend to be some better sales like right after Christmas.
Should we recalibrate our calendars and those of our social friends to have Christmas a month later? Because we get some cracking great bargains.
They do
after
that in
Christmas.
Gilmore Girls, actually, when Rory's overseas for Christmas. And so they delay Christmas and they end up celebrating it kind of just around New Year's or thereafter. And they realize that everything's cheaper and they're like, oh, we should do Christmas a week late and make it super cheap. And don't tell anyone because this is our new Christmas tradition.
You're listening to the Gaming Lovers Podcast. Want to join the conversation? Visit thegaminglovers.com. Record your comment or question by clicking on the button on the right-hand side. And you could be featured in the next podcast.
Well, I'm not going to do what I did last year, and that was where I made the critical error of not only receiving quite a few games under the Christmas tree, or stuffed in my stocking, I then had the day off on Boxing Day and decided to hit up the local EB games, and that was disastrous. And
You came back with so much.
it is approaching December now. I have games that I received Christmas last year on my backlog, like Mordor Shadow of War, that I have not touched. And because this is because I overloaded myself.
And you keep playing things that come out like at launch. You've been distracted. I'm amazed that you haven't gone out and gotten Red Dead Redemption 2, especially given the hype around it.
If I do that, my backlog will become sentient and will attempt to kill me for being abused and ignored and mistreated.
Yeah. It's like that. This is a tough time of year. It's like trying to prioritize what you want to play. I think I almost wish that I was one of those gamers that like really only loved one game. Like you've got some gamers that will just stick to certain multiplayer series and that like they're really good at that, but then they don't play anything else. Whereas you dabble in more than I dabble in, but I still dabble in enough that I feel overwhelmed with how much we have. You are on a whole nother plane.
I'm an excessive dabbler.
Yes.
Anything that comes out, whether it's a sequel to an existing series or a new franchise or something from an indie developer, most games I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. I'll keep my eye on that. I'll keep my eye on this. There's a game that is coming out called Haunted Island, The Adventures of Detective Frog or something. And it looks ridiculous and low budget and adorable. I want to play it.
Oh, man. There's so much stuff. That said, it'd be interesting to know what everyone's like pattern is as far as shopping for video games around this time of year. Are you a shopper that gets all the stuff right before Christmas when they have these kind of sales around Thanksgiving, I think, in the States? Or is it post-Christmas or post-New Year's kind of thing? Jump on the bandwagon then and get deals? Because for me, I think it depends on the game and how badly we want it, and if I'm getting it for you for Christmas or not. If I'll jump on the sales early, or if I can be patient and wait for them to get even lower down the road, So I would love to know.
Need games, but I sure like to get games.
Absolutely,
as a gift.
We all do. And that's the thing. So it'd be interesting. I want to know what everyone else's habits are. Hit us up on like social media or on our website at thegaminglovers.com. Let us know when it comes to buying video games around this time of year, whether you like to get it pre-Christmas or post-Christmas.
And speaking of which, before we get into our future term gaming goals, we did receive a message this week as well from Mark.
Yes.
And Mark says, hello, Hyper, Brendo and Jem. Hyper being in brackets. I think he is unsure whether to attach the hyper or not because that's my Twitter handle and also my YouTube gaming stream name. I don't think you have a special name. You're just Jem. Hello, Hyper, Brendo and Jem. Money being tight at the moment, I'm without consoles or a gaming PC. However, I have just received a relatively new smartphone and was looking to use that for gaming. Well, this is going to be more your wheelhouse than mine, dear.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations of cheap and or free games that would be worth playing on my phone? Thanks. Love the podcast. Mark.
So that was sent to you on Twitter?
Yes.
Cool. Hey, Mark. I need to do some homework.
Well, both of us do. Like, I've made it clear in the past that mobile gaming is usually not anywhere near the top of my preference as far as the hardware. I like to play with sticks and buttons and triggers and bumpers and paddles and toggles and switches and anything that has like touch.
You realise, though, when you play Pokemon Let's Go, for example, on the Switch and you take it with you to work, that you can use the touchscreen like you would with a mobile game.
But I don't. I use the stick and the buttons.
But you can't, like when you play with Eevee,
I use the stick and the buttons.
you don't use
I
the
use the
screen
stick
to
and the
pet
buttons.
Eevee, but like that's
Oh, okay.
amazing.
Admittedly, I do pet Eevee.
There you go. So, honestly, they're not for everyone, and that's okay. But I do jump to their defense because I think they get a hard time. Like a lot of people get annoyed, and microtransactions are frustrating, but they're in pretty much every game now. So to disparage them because of that, I mean, you don't have to spend money to play these games. You just have to be more patient with them, which is why I rotate between about 5 different games sometimes. So I'll be like, okay, the timer is out on this one. Let's go play this one while it recharges. You got to get a little clever with it. But I will come up with a list of games that I love, and I'll also try to find, when he says cheap, like, what do you reckon? As far as like budget wise, what quantifies as a cheap mobile game?
Well, why don't we try this? Why don't we remove cheap from the equation? And how about we have a challenge? For next week's podcast, you and I, head to head, we've got 7 days. Let's see if we can come up with our top 3 free mobile games.
Top 3? That's so hard.
I have a Samsung phone at the moment. You have an Apple.
Mm-hmm.
We might have different
delicious.
games on our different stores. You are distracting.
I got an apple. I got a pen. Sorry, I won't go down that road.
No.
Oh, sorry.
So this week we will road test as many free games as we have time to test. And I'm interested to see what sort of free games you like. Because I have a habit of downloading games that are bad matches for mobiles. Like, hey, I like Sonic. And you can get Sonic 2 on your phone for free with ads. Ads are fine. They're allowed. It's still free.
Yeah, the developers still deserve some income for their work.
But trying to play that style of game without a stick and buttons is very difficult. So
That's not a game that would mesh well with that.
that's why I'm like, no, this is stupid. I hate playing games on my phone. I'm getting rid of it. Where's the next Sonic game that I can play? So I'll be going out of my wheelhouse and trying mobile games, and we'll see what clicks for Hyper Brendo.
I think you need more than 3. Let's make it 5 each.
No, it's 3 each. Then we're doing 6 in total. You want to do 5?
I think 5.
You want to do 5?
Yes, I don't think it's hard enough choosing 5 that I love. So yes, give me 5, please.
It'll be between 3 and 5. Let's put it that way.
plus this side honorable mentions of 50 other games. So we can also post like a list of games that we'd recommend with links to them on our social media once that episode goes up. Once we figure it out, we'll do our homework on that one for you, Mark, and anyone else interested.
And if you have any tips of what the greatest mobile game that's free that you've played, make sure you hit me up on Twitter at HyperBrendo and pay no attention to Jem. Do not tell her.
You could go to the Gaming Lovers Twitter one, the main one.
You could do that, but if you want to
Brendo
go
Jem.
straight to me and help me win this,
Well, it's not a competition.
I literally said at the start of this it was going to be a competition.
Oh, you did too.
We're going head to head. Who can find the best game? And after that episode drops next week, we're going to put a
And
poll.
it has to be free.
Yes, we're going to put a poll on Facebook and see what
Now-
the people think.
Are we going at like what people think as far as like what's popular via downloads, or just what we personally think is the best?
We are trying a lot of games. We're putting
Yes.
our recommendations out there. People will vote on what they think is the best game.
But what if they haven't played what is clearly an awesome game because it's so obscure and then it doesn't get the votes?
Because they will then be able to test them because we're telling them what to test. It's a multi-layered
test.
testing system.
Like this, you pucker your lips, look at this. Sorry.
We are so far beyond the point of this making any sense.
We've devolved like Savannah did. In the
Your butt is sparkly and stupid.
You're a butt. Well, I think that marks the end of this episode.
Because
why?
why?
Oh,
Because why?
Kids. I can't believe I engaged in that.
Who's the real immature
I
one?
don't know. Gaming goals for this week, aside from this challenge for Mark.
Aside from the 90 mobile games I'm going to be downloading. Good thing we've got unlimited data on our internet.
Yes, darling. Okay, we're going to keep talking like this because
Not
it's
at
really
all.
annoying. I'm going to keep playing Pokemon Let's Go and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Yay!
Yeah, well, we seem to be in deep in many long games, so it's probably going to stay that way for a while. Pokemon Let's Go EV. That is 5 letters, not 2, despite how it sounds. I'm going to be doing more Dark Souls 2 on my YouTube channel. Check it out. TheGamingLovers.com has all the links. And Yakuza 0, I'm going to do my best to enjoy that whenever I can in between mobile gaming.
Yes. Bye, Nara.
I didn't even get a warm-up for the exit. I better make sure I say Chowski before the podcast ends.
Thanks for listening to the Gaming Lovers podcast. For more episodes or to watch some live stream gaming, visit thegaminglovers.com.